Hello and welcome to the Rabyd Atheist. I'm Ed Raby, a former pastor turned atheist, now compassionate anti-theist. Welcome to my channel. Feel free to like or dislike the video as you see fit, so feel free to hit those buttons. Feel free to comment below, and I would appreciate it if you would subscribe to the channel and hit your notification bell for more content as it is released. You're also free to share my videos as much as you like, because the purpose of this channel is educational in regards to atheist and deconversion issues and any issues related to those issues. A hearty shout out to the Rabyd Nation. Join the nation by hitting that subscribe button. And if you want to support the channel in a more tangible way, hit the join button, and your membership options for citizenship in the Rabyd Nation will be presented to you. Today I'm doing another issue of Rabyd Reflections here at the end of the week on a Friday. And usually this is something that I've been thinking about all week, or something that has been driving my thoughts. And near the beginning of the week, I was made aware, I was on my private YouTube channel, and I came across a video by a fellow deconstructionist kind of person, Darante LaMar, and his channel. If you're interested in more philosophical discussions, you can head over to his place and subscribe. I think he just broke 1K, so I'm sure he would appreciate the new subscribers. But he had a video called This Poisons Everything, and it's a real short 5-minute video. And I watched the video, and it got me thinking, because I think he's right. He's on to something. He's right about something. Because it goes to a lot of discussion on who is really the driving force here of different movements. Because he talks about how religion is simply an outcropping of our natural, intuitive, superstitious nature. That the real thing that poisons everything is superstition, because superstition is what drives religion. And I agree with that. I think we have certain needs and wants that get caught up in that intuition. Our natural human tendencies are what drives religion, what creates religions. That's why there's so many, by the way, because they all become individual expressions of people's desires and intuitions and so on and so forth. They're not really, shall we say, assessments of real reality. And, this idea has been going around in my brain for years, ever since I got through with Daniel Dennett's idea of the new transparency that the internet is creating. That, this transparency idea of whenever a Christian makes a claim, there's 14 internet sources that refute that claim. Okay. It's kind of hilarious, because here on YouTube, we watch, theists make, 10 questions, 12 questions, 15 questions that atheists can answer. And within, a week or two, there's every atheist that's major has done a video in response answering those questions. So it's always kind of hilarious to me that those kind of videos exist. What people really mean is, 10 questions that atheists can answer, but we just don't accept the answers. Okay. And that's what really happens, because it's the constant question of, whenever a theist puts out something, instantly there's a response. And often it's a scientific response, a rational response, going down that road of bringing out the light of reality. Okay, this is reality. This is how this really works, based on study and information and data, and actually presenting evidence, instead of running from it. And it leads to the issue of what is driving the rise in atheism. And this isn't just in the United States, although in the Western world, atheism has been rising much faster than the rest of the world. And I think it's a lot to do with the fact that of the Enlightenment and rationality and things like that, certain ideas have just started to take root. And I think there's a trying to understand why people are turning more and more. I mean, you can't, these days, I can't really turn on YouTube without finding another deconstructionist, somebody who's deconstructing, somebody who's getting out there. I mean, there's been Christian people that have made parodies of this thing, a typical deconversion story or deconstruction story. But why is that happening? Why is this such a movement? I agree that the nuns aren't necessarily atheistic. Many of them probably still hold on to their superstitions. superstitions don't have to necessarily lead to religion. There's some superstitions that are just people have that are just there because of intuition and wanting an intuitive answer instead of going and digging to it. And Mr. LaMar makes an excellent point that we might be at the point in human history, and this is mixed a little bit with my observations. I think we're in a point in human evolution, or at least the evolution of ideas that human beings have, that much like alchemy became chemistry, we discarded the superstitious parts of alchemy and embraced the reality of chemistry that alchemy kind of offhanded discovered. And for the same reasons why astrology has turned into astronomy, as these areas of formerly superstitious inquiry have turned into more scientific inquiry, it has changed them. Okay, they're now looking for real answers. They're now looking for stuff that they can put on a data sheet. They're losing the scientific method to open up possibilities in this thing. And I think the religion science debate, this is where we're at. Science is causing us to discard the superstitious answers behind us. Now, don't get me wrong, with every movement towards a certain direction, there's always a counter movement. And I've made the statement on this channel many times, we're one great awakening from going back 100 years, okay? We really are, and that's the nature of us human beings, is we'll get caught up in some superstitious mumbo jumbo. And, Mr. LaMar makes the statement, superstition is a bigger problem than religion, that he doesn't really see, religion as the problem. But I would argue that religion is the outcropping of superstition. It's the codifying of superstition. It's putting superstition into an organized vein. And, I get people on this channel, well, it's really about Christ and not, Christianity. And I'm like, dude, you have created a religion in your head, codified it based on your understanding of Christ. You can sit there and discard the religious nature of Christianity all you want, and then you're just recreating it yourself, okay? I think Penn Jillette, said it a while ago, if you discarded all the religions, got rid of them all magically, within, 10, 15 years, there'd be a whole new slew of them to replace it, because that's human nature. And I think he has a valid point. And so I'm seeing, why religion is taking nasty knocks and atheism is on the rise. And I'm asking the question, is atheism the cause of all this, or is atheism simply the outcropping? Okay, because for me, I held on to a lot of superstitious stuff and learned the real rational reasons that things happened. And to me, my atheism became the result of an inquiry that didn't have any good answers when I stand on an intuitive, superstitious religious front. Okay, when I was in that camp, it just didn't provide good answers long term, and my atheism is the result. Theists often accuse atheists of, creating all this stuff. We created evolution. We created this stuff as a way to attack all this stuff, but I don't think so. When I look back at the history of science, a lot of the early pioneers of science were believers. Many of them were Christians and other religions as well. And when you look at what they did, they were looking at God's world from their perspective. And the more they studied it, the more the superstitious rationales for why things work the way they work disappeared. And after a while, they begin to naturally use Occam's razor and realize that there really isn't any, how shall we say, reason to keep God in the equation. Okay, slowly but surely, the God belief gets nasty knocks because it no longer has utility. There's no utility view for it. In our superstitious past, it had utility. It gave easy, quick answers to stuff that we had no idea of how to figure out. But now, as the study of science continued, the God necessity, the religious necessity, the superstitious beliefs necessity has disappeared. And as a result, it's like, well, if we don't need God for all this other stuff, why do I need him in my life? Okay, why do I need him to be a good human being? Why do I need him? This is where we're kind of turning a corner in social sciences. As somebody who has a degree in one of the social science and political science, I'm beginning to see how this rational inquiry is beginning to change the social sciences as well and get rid of some of the superstitious nonsense too. The beliefs about human behavior, the beliefs about morality. One of the big questions that keeps coming yelled at me is you can't have objective morality without a God. And my response to that is all morality is subjective as far as I can observe it. Okay, give me this objective morality that is worldwide, and you'll be hard pressed to find it. Um, you know, Usually do you think it's wrong to kill people? And it's like it's always the murder question, and it's like, well, that depends. Okay, and when you really think about it, as George Carlin observed, murder with religious people is kind of negotiable. It's negotiable about whether or not that person actually believes the same thing I do and how fundamentally I'm devoted to my own religion. Murder starts to get negotiable even with religious people. So I'm not really sure religion creates an objective morality about murder either. But as we get back to rational inquiry, we're now seeing philosophy and moral philosophy dive deeper into human morality, and we're seeing a coupling with evolutionary science, and evolutionary morality is starting to become a real observed thing. That as a social species, we develop morals because that's the nature of a social species. And we're constantly evolving and changing them. I mean, 400 years ago, most human beings thought slavery was just a part of life and okay. That's just the way it is. Now we realize that no, it's something bad. Our subjective morality has come to better conclusions than the Bible has. And we're growing and we're evolving because we're dumping the superstitious religious nonsense. I don't think, I guess my disagreement with Mr. LaMar is this. I don't think religion is something separate from superstition. I think it's codified superstition. I think they're wrapped up in each other's arms. I don't think you can escape one with the other. Whenever I hear a person say, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual, I'm like, no, you've just created your own religion. You have your own codified superstitions, just like all the rest of religion is codified superstition. And when you start to begin to have more rational answers, you move away from superstition and you start to get, more rational beliefs and understandings of how the universe works. And to me, the end result of that is atheism. Is this we just haven't found any good convincing evidence for a God, any God. Okay. And that's the rational decision. That's the rational choice at the end. And so everything else is about keeping, some level of superstition or whatever. I think even deism is like trying to hold on to the basic kernel of the superstition of God. Okay. And that's why I discarded it, is because it's like, no, it's just another religion. Okay. We're just trying to keep the essence of our God belief and get rid of, the specifics. But it's still the essence of this superstitious belief in some creator, and we don't really need it anymore. And there's a lot of questions. Don't get me wrong, rational inquiry, what we can inquire into is only limited by usually our ability to think about it and the tools that we have to look. Okay. But the more we've created tools to look and understand the universe, the more things, the microscope has killed more superstitious nonsense than any other thing. Okay, once you discover there's smaller creatures than us that we can't see because they're so small, and they can affect and create diseases. All of a sudden, diseases aren't bad spirits. They're viruses, they're bacteria. They're this kind of thing. That ends a lot of superstitious nonsense, and that's what's happening. I don't think that the problem is that superstition precedes religion or rationality precedes atheism. I think religion is kind of is wrapped up in that superstitious thing, And I also think that atheism is growing because we're getting over it. Okay, we're starting to see the answers. And the more we get real answers, the less God, this superstitious belief in God, is needed. And I know a lot of you theists are going to watch this video and get mad, but I'm like, I'm speaking as somebody who used to be in your seat. Okay? And I am telling you, the more you look at this stuff and the more you actually listen to people that know something about the universe, the more you peruse the reality of life using your rational faculties, using things that we are now evolving to understand, we're beginning to realize that superstition and religion aren't beneficial to our survival. Quite the contrary. It's still the martyrdom complex that causes people to kill people in the name of their faith or die in the name of their faith. Well, that's not advantageous to survival or thriving. It's the whole over the top, belief in a God to the point of just not understanding the universe and keeping us back in this dark age mentality. It's not helping us anymore. Maybe intuition was somewhat beneficial because it's all we had back in the day, but that's not true anymore. And atheism is growing as not as a force trying to push all this stuff to get people to stop believing. It's simply the end product result of realizing that superstition and religion are wrapped up in each other. And when you start getting rid of the superstition, the force behind religion starts to die. And I think that's what's really starting to happen. That's what's really going on. Atheism isn't your enemy. Atheism is simply the end result to theists of people who actually stop being superstitious and start looking for real answers of why things are. And when you begin to look at your own beliefs rationally, that's when you begin to discard them, because you realize there's alternative answers that don't require God in the equation. And once you begin to do that, to me, the strongest argument against God is the fact of how unnecessary any kind of deity is becoming to understanding the universe. And the more that happens, the more you're going to see atheism grow, not just in the Western world, but I think around the world too. I think the real problem, like deep Islamic state countries are going to have and other religions have, is the fact that rational inquiry is starting to be known to them. And once certain ideas get into people's heads, it doesn't matter how religious their surroundings are, they personally are going to stop believing. Whether or not they outwardly show that is another matter. And slowly but surely, that group of people inside those religious states gets larger and larger and larger. Very silent, but soon it'll be a silent majority. And sooner or later, somebody will do something against the religion, and these people will say, hey, let them go. And that's when the end begins. I think we're seeing a cusp. I've said it before. We're in our teenage years as humanity. We're trying to get rid of the emotional, intuitive BS that we used to follow and starting to become a little bit more adult as a species. And I hope, I don't know if I'll ever see the end result of that, but I think that's what's beginning to happen. I think atheism is simply the outplay of getting rid of superstition and religion, those two things that are wrapped up together. So that's kind of my thoughts on it. It's just some things that I've been thinking about this week of why is atheism growing? Why are there so many deconstructing stories? Why are there's more and more all the time? Why is it every time in the United States we take a poll of religiosity, Christianity continues to shrink, the nuns continue to grow, and within the nuns, the atheists continue to grow? Why is that happening? It's going to get to a point where I think, what happens when a fifth of the country doesn't believe in any God? Okay, what happens when 30% of the country doesn't believe in a God? And what happens when Christianity is shrunk and then these nuns, these kind of superstitious nuns, but not necessarily all that other stuff in the middle? What happens when that grows? And the nature of the changing of society and becoming more peaceful doesn't have a lot to do with a lot of technology, in my opinion. What I think it has a lot to do with our losing of our religiosity, losing these irrational, intuitive, superstitious reasons to hate each other. You know, one of the big things that ended for me when my faith finally discarded, I had no real irrational, superstitious nonsense reason to hate anybody anymore. You know, it's a real blow to your tribalism when you lose religion. And all of a sudden, LGBTQ people, people of different political stripes, I don't have a reason to hate them anymore. And that's kind of where, you know, this is the outcropping. This is what's happening. You're not losing because people are becoming godless, because they want to sin or any of this stuff. You're losing because you're holding on to superstitious nonsense. And, you know, these scientific inquiries that were created by people that were superstitious, these trying to find the deeper, real answer, getting data, getting stuff that actually backs up their claims. They're not just making claims. They got claims and they got data to back it up. Okay, this is what's causing atheism, because God is being moved out of the equation. He's not necessary anymore. Maybe he was at one time, but he isn't anymore. Well, that's just some of my thoughts on it. I would address comments this week, but I didn't see anything from theists that I haven't heard 100 times before. I guess that would be my one commentary on the comments. You know, I just haven't really seen anybody's A game this week. You know, either, you know, in the chat, you know, when I do a premiere or anything like that. In fact, quite the opposite with the chat. You know, it's like, you guys don't have anything, do you? So there's that. Just some channel news. I am seriously considering going to Baja Con as a representative of the Clergy Project. I want to make that decision this weekend. It really is a financial question. So if I do make the decision to go to Baja Con this year, it may very well be, you know, you guys on this channel may have to support me to make sure I get there. I don't know how much support you'll have to give me, but, you know, it's, you know, I literally live about a 4-hour drive from where it's going to be. You know, it wouldn't take me very long to get there. It's just right across, you know, the Detroit River, you know, there. So it's in that vicinity. So it's kind of like, you know, I don't like cities, as everybody who watches this channel knows. You know, my time in Houston was not a very productive one, in fact, quite damaging. But at the same time, you know, it's only a couple days, and I got some vacation time coming, and, you know, it might be a good prelude to, you know, having a nice relaxing trip, go to Baja Con, and then take another week off. And I'm just trying to figure out how to finance it. So we'll see what happens there. But it's a good way to represent the channel. Who knows where the channel will be by August? So, you know, hopefully doing much better than it is. You know, right now we're doing awesome, but, you know, I'd be like to see some more growth. But, you know, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? So, also, if you're watching this video either at the premiere or within the first couple days, I'll be on the Kentucky Atheist doing a live stream with him on Sunday, St. Patrick's Day. So looking forward to that. Be talking about a lot of things. You know, I think I want to address the question of autism and faith, you know, because my recent discoveries about myself. So hopefully that'll be helpful. I'm trying to head into a lot of positive directions with the channel. I'm coming up on my birthday, which will be Monday, March 18th. And I always get very reflective on this at this time. And for me, the issues are always, you know, what do I need to change? What did I accomplish in this time of this journey around the sun? And what am I going to try to accomplish with the next journey around the sun? And, you know, I'm always trying to reflect. And as I look at being an atheist advocate more and more, it becomes more paramount to get my deconversion story written. It becomes more paramount to start heading in a writing direction and being more of a writer. So that's my biggest focus for next year, is going to be starting to add the writing elements to being an atheist advocate, and then also getting my deconversion story written. I also have a novel I'm working on that I'm trying to write just because I want to write a novel and see if I can get it published. I've always liked the creative writing side of me, and so that's kind of where I'm I'm headed. So there's that aspect of my life. I'm growing. I'm also, I am taking pretty good care of the body, but I need to take better care of it and getting things like that in line. I have a much easier time at this time of the year where it's near my birthday of doing like New Year's resolutions kind of things than at New Year's. So it's just the way it is. And that's kind of where I'm going, getting the discipline back, getting the routines back. And it's a challenging time for me usually, but it's also a wonderful time. Um, as I look back at it now, I've been without faith, in anything for 8 years. Come, May 27th, it'll be, let's see, yeah, that was 2015, so five plus, it'll be 9 years at that point that I haven't believed in Christianity, and about 8 years that I haven't believed in anything. So, kind of a milestone moment. I'm starting to feel pulling myself away from all that, looking at a lot of different aspects of my life. And, one other thing, I don't really talk about my personal life that much, but I was talking with my therapist on Wednesday, and I said the one thing that I'd really like to see before I come back around to March 18, 2025, I would like to see somebody, a girlfriend or somebody in my life like that, because I've realized that for me, I'm learning to love myself, and out of that, I'm very motivated. But another part of my motivation for doing the things I do is love for another person, particularly, that romantic relationship with a woman I'm looking for. And I'm really trying to figure out a way, despite the autism, despite the hypersensitivity, despite the introversion, of reaching out and trying to find a way to do that. And so it's one of my major goals to have love in my life again. And much I saw a couple weeks ago, I think Tim Mills did a video. He's the one that interviewed me. He he expressed a small personal thing that he wanted the love story. And I commented about this a week or two ago or last week. But I'm right there with him. Um, I think religion, my being in religion as a young age and all that robbed me of my love story. A lot at it, finding that person, falling in love, not because of religious reasons pushing you together, but finding a way to love somebody just because of who they are and them to love you back. We, I don't know if, Tim kind of bemoaning that he's going through pretty hell with his ex-spouse, soon to be ex-spouse. I haven't gone through hell with my ex, but I've come to realize how much I was missing in that relationship that simply would have been cured if we had fallen in love in a more conventional manner without the church and without the religion surrounding it. If I had found somebody that was more akin to my desires, my philosophies, somebody who loved me for me and not what I was going to be as a pastor, that sort of thing, and I could love them in return for that. And that's kind of what I think I'm missing. I've often bemoaned on my blog, The Gray Wayfarer, that I miss my muse. I don't have a muse anymore. I don't for creative writing, and I'm starting to develop that in myself, where I'm starting to love myself enough where I'm like, okay, I can use that as inspiration. But I've always done better when I've been in love with somebody else, and that's kind of where I'm headed. And so as I look at forward to the next year of my life, the next travel around the sun, that's kind of where I'm going. I'll talk more about some of this stuff. I'm planning on not doing a typical reaction on Monday because it is my birthday, and so I'll probably be doing a little bit more thoughts on my birthday that day. But this is just kind of where I'm heading. I think that's pretty much it. It's been, in some ways, an uneventful week, but in other ways, we're growing. We passed 3,000 last week. We're getting very close to 3,200. Just keep pushing towards that 4,000 marker, and then the next big goal is 5,000K. I also want to thank all the people that have become members in the last couple of months. You guys are great. We're up to 4 members. I really want to see membership grow to 8, because then the members will appear at the top of the screen on my channel, and that would be awesome for them. So, but I need to have 8 members before that happens. And so, I encourage some of you that are on the fence, maybe you want to do it for that reason. And I'm really working on that angle of giving more benefits. I also, from a channel point of view, I'm starting to realize the need for moderators during premieres because I'm getting all kinds of things. So I may be handing a few of you that I trust the wrench, to kind of keep my commenters, out of it, because my last video, the Wednesday video, I had a guy come in and it just being a real, I don't know whether to take him seriously or not. So that's kind of, it's like, but it pointed out a need that I'm trying to address comments that are more insightful, and I don't need the trolls, getting in there and making my life difficult. It's part of managing my autism and dealing with stress, but it's also, I've tried to build a community here. The theists are here, that you're allowed to comment because you're respectful, okay? And if you're not respectful, if you're just going to say a bunch of nonsense and just make claims without evidence and scream them in my ear, then yeah, that's not a constructive conversation, and I'm just going to get rid of it. So I'll see what happens, but I'll probably hand, if you show up for a premiere and I see that you're there, you might get handed a wrench just to watch, and make sure that people don't get out of hand. So thank you very much. Appreciate every like, share, and subscribe. You guys are doing great. The memberships are growing. The things are growing. Thank you very much. All of this is due to you. The success of the channel is due to you. So thank you very much. And I appreciate it. And as always, live your best life. You only get one go around, and then it's over. And there is no afterlife to look forward to, so make it a good one. We're all stories in the end, so make it a good one. And, it's, don't waste all that stuff on the trappings of religion and faith. It's a dead end, but instead give all those time, money, opportunities to building up yourself, building relationships with the people you love and care for, and making this a better world. You'll be happier if you do. Trust me, I speak from experience. And as always, thanks for stopping by, and I'll catch you next time.